So let's go into some detail about the project that we're building. We'll do a quick romp through Wikipedia just for some background. If you want to learn about the long storied history of Tetris, we actually have to go back to 1984 when a Russian artificial intelligence programmer named Alexei Pajitnov created a game that was inspired by the old board game / mathematical problem of pentominoes. These were first described in the early 1900s, and it was a problem where you had these shapes made up of 5 squares, and you somehow had to fit them perfectly into a rectangular board. Pajitnov changed the game to use 4 squares instead of 5. It made the game a lot less complicated, with less shapes, and he made them fall from the sky. The name of the game came from a mixture of tetra, the Greek root for the number 4, and the word tennis, apparently Pajitnov's favorite sport. And hence, Tetris. As we can see from this earliest version from 1984, Tetris wasn't always the rainbow-colored affair that we know today. It's gone through a bunch of iterations over the last 30-plus years, including being ported to some early game consoles and PCs. I had the DOS version and was always envious of Amiga owners. There's some great childhood memories there. It took to the masses by storm via the NES and Game Boy, and it even became one of the earliest iPod games. You can't even log on to Facebook without running into Tetris. As late as last year, there was even a jazzy multiplayer PC and console Ultimate Edition. Any game like this that survives the test of time is truly a classic. So let's build our own version. And here's what we're going to have after we complete this class. We hope the gameplay is familiar to you. You drop these oddly shaped blocks from the top of the screen onto the game board, which is essentially a grid. As we fill up complete lines of the grid without any holes, the completed rows disappear. And it's an endless game. You can't win. It's basically driven by high score like most old school games. Now, we don't necessarily need to recreate the game down to the last detail. We just want to port something like this to Unity 3D, and then add a few modern bells and whistles in the process. The point of doing this is more about learning to problem solve and learning how to organize your code inside of C#. Now, one reason for choosing a relatively small game like this is to keep your project manageable. A AAA game may require hundreds of people working for a year, several years, and there's a reason for that. It's tons of work. Too many times, indie programmers, and this is myself included, attempt to create a game that's way beyond the scope of one person. So you might end up laboring for weeks or months, and then realize there's no end in sight. You're never going to finish this thing. So you end up just giving up and not finishing anything. And then you have nothing to show for it. And again, that's speaking from personal experience. So this is one small game, and it's both fun and it's something that you can finish over a day or a weekend. Show it to your friends and your family and tell them, hey, I made this. When you're done, we hope you've learned enough that you can change the game around, make it your own. But wait until the end of the course to do that. So in the next section, we'll create our Unity 3D project and get organized.